Tonight on Top Story, Ghana's economy is on high alert as the country braces for the impact of the U.S.-Israel war. We have details as the Energy Committee in Parliament braces for an emergency meeting with the National Petroleum Authority.
My chairman has just intimated to me that it's likely we are going to have an emergency meeting with the power players. In the industry, NPA, I'm sure is going to be summoned by Tuesday or Wednesday. We're going to lead the committee alongside the Ministry of Energy.
We have details here on Top Story. Top Story, as always, is brought to you by Telecom, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. My name is Fostina. Sarfo, please stay for details. Tonight, Ghana's economy is on edge as global oil prices surge due to escalating tensions between the U.S., Israel and Iran. The conflict threatens to disrupt oil supplies through the Strait of Hormuz, a vital shipping route carrying 20% of the world's oil and gas. Ghana, an oil importing country, is vulnerable to price shocks, and the National Petroleum Authority acknowledges that the country can't escape global price fluctuations. The NPA assures Ghanaians that fuel reserves are sufficient for several weeks, but Parliament's Energy Commission is taking precautions, scheduling an emergency meeting with stakeholders to mitigate the impact of rising fuel prices. Let's listen to NPA's Director of Economic Regulation and Planning, Abbas Ibrahim Tasunti.
Definitely, with such a war happening and the impact it has on the global oil market, consumers and all stakeholders will be concerned about whether Ghana will be affected. As we've said, Ghana will definitely be affected, just like any other country in the world. So the focus will be what plans we have in place to ensure that consumers do not lack fuel for the economy to run. So as you asked, what is Ghana's current stock level of petroleum products? As of last Friday, we have diesel stocks to last us over 5 weeks. Roughly, it will last us up to 5.3 weeks. And then for petrol, we have almost 7 weeks, 6.8 weeks to last. And this is something that we monitor all the time. If you know that for a country like Ghana, which is a net importer, even without this war, we always ensure that we have a plan to make petroleum products available for consumers in the country. And so this is not something that is being done because of the war, but it's something we do on the regular. It's one of NPA's major mandates to ensure that petroleum products are always available. So as of Friday, like you said, the last monitoring that we did, petrol again will last us up to almost 7 weeks, 6.8 weeks, and diesel will last us about 5.3 weeks. But just to add that this does not mean that we don't have imports coming in. We discharge petroleum products almost every day in this country. So we have a plan where almost every day discharge of petroleum products have been done. That's for the imported products. We also have the Sarfo oil refinery, which is consistently producing. It has been doing so since June last year, June 2025. And as we speak, they are producing on a daily basis and putting petroleum products on the market. The Ayawasu gas processing plant is also producing and putting LPG on the market. So in terms of stocks, whilst we consume what is incoming, we have a plan of imports for import as well. We have about 4 vessels at the anchorage as we speak in Tema, which are waiting to discharge 2 cargoes for diesel and 2 cargoes for petrol, and other imports are also scheduled to come in. So for now, to answer your question directly, we have products to last in the country for almost 6 and 7 weeks for petrol and diesel and petrol respectively.
Well, Parliament is not taking chances despite the assurances. The Deputy Ranking Member on the Energy Committee, Collins Adumako Mensah, tells Joy News the committee will hold an emergency meeting with EPA, NPA and key stakeholders to review measures to reduce the potential impact of rising fuel prices on Ghanaians.
My chairman has just intimated to me that it's likely we are going to have an emergency meeting with the power players, with the players in the industry. NPA, I'm sure, is going to be summoned by Tuesday or Wednesday. they come and lead the committee alongside the Ministry of Energy to come and explain to us what this whole law means to us. And the question you put to me, I'm sure I'm going to put the same question to them when they come to us. They are the technical people. They should explain to us what the implications are, although we have a fair idea that is going to lead to some price increases. This brings to the fore the issue about Tor, and I'm excited that Tor is now running. I mean, not at the full capacity, but it has started some operations. We have to have a very serious policy discussion. Oil producers, we produce oil now in Ghana. What do we do in situations like this? Can we, as a matter of urgency, have a meeting with them to see whether we can quickly refine quite a number of it here in Ghana so we can be assured of some supply? These are all policy direction that must be taken by the ministry.
Well, Ghana has faced similar oil price volatility before, and experts warn that without structural changes, history could repeat itself. The country's reliance on imported refined petroleum products makes it susceptible to global price changes affecting transportation, food, and essential services. Let's get the latest update on the situation from our research team. They've been doing some digging. Caleb Zibling joins me in the studio with more. Let's appreciate the root cause of what is driving the current surge in global oil prices.
Yes, Fostina. So as we speak now, the price of a barrel of Brent crude, and Brent crude is based as usually the benchmark price of crude on the international markets. So currently the price is $77 per barrel. We ended Friday, that was before the attack, at $72 per barrel, and we are currently doing $77 per barrel. That's an additional $5 per barrel. Because the conflict is happening now in the Middle East, where about 30% of global oil production takes place, the uncertainty is causing the spike in oil prices as we are seeing. Again, Iran has also effectively blocked the Straits of Hormuz, where about 20% of total oil production passes through. And again, because the United States is involved in this, the Iranians are targeting U.S. bases in most of the other Middle Eastern countries. And then we have confirmed attacks from the Iranians in Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. And then, in fact, earlier today, the Iranians hit part of a Qatari LNG processing plant, which has caused the price of natural gas in parts of Europe to spike. Again, the Iranians are doing this because once they are able to cause other parts of the world to feel the impact of the ongoing unrest in the Middle East, they are hoping that this will cause pressure to pile on the U.S. and then prevent the U.S. from escalating the matters further. So as we speak now, the price of Brent crude on international markets is $77. We peaked around $78, almost $80 earlier today, but then it seems that the prices are now easing a bit. So that's good news for Ghana.
Indeed. And how long is this likely to last?
Yeah, so the duration of the unrest is very significant. If this happens for a protracted time, for 2 to 3 weeks, we can see that the price of crude is going to go up significantly. Again, last year in 2025, the US together with Israel struck Iran again, and then oil prices spiked up, but then a few days later it came down, and then the unrest in the Middle East faded. So Ghana did not feel the impact in 2025. But then this year, if the unrest or the conflict escalates further and goes beyond a week or two, that's when the oil traders and markets are going to realize that the price of crude oil, they are not taking significant advantage of the fact that the price has not gone up significantly. So traders and oil marketers will start increasing the price up dramatically, and that's why we can see price of crude oil going from the current highs of $77 to as high as $80 per barrel, 90, or even cross the $100 per barrel mark. So if the war escalates beyond a week or two, that's when we should see the price of crude oil on the markets going up significantly. But as we speak now, the price is $77 per barrel, and because of the strength of Ghana's currency, we're in a somewhat comfortable position.
And then how will this even affect price of fuel at the pumps here in Ghana?
Okay, so before the attack happened on Saturday, the price of crude oil on the international markets was already going up. And then we heard on Friday, again, that was before the attack happened, that COPEC and the OMCs were going to increase the price of petrol in the Ghanaian markets by about 3 to 5%. Today, when the pricing window opened, that happened. The price of fuel increased a bit. I think gold is doing about 11 cedis for petrol and 12 cedis for diesel. the price of fuel increased today, not because of what's happening in the Middle East, but then because the price of petroleum products on the market were already going up. So currently, we are not feeling the impacts. We're not feeling the impacts of the unrest in the Middle East. What's happening is that the price of crude was already going up, which is why the price of petroleum products in Ghana increased today. Now, going forward, if the if Ghana's cedi does not remain strong against the dollar or it weakens, currently the cedi is doing 10 cedis, 70 pesos to $1. If the cedi slips a bit and goes to 11 or 12 cedis, that's where we're going to feel the impacts heavily. But then currently, because our cedi is doing very well, currently trading at 10 cedis, 70 pesos, even though crude oil prices are going up a bit, the impact is minimal. So what's currently holding Ghana down is the fact that our currency is doing very well. And again, crude oil prices have not gone out of control yet. We're currently doing $77 per barrel, and the cedi is doing 10 cedis, 70 pesos to $1.
Thank you so much, Caleb, for that update. Thanks for staying with us here on Top Story. Let me bring in now the CEO of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, Dr. Riverson Opong. We appreciate your time here on Top Story. Later, we'll also be speaking to industry players. I'd just like to start with your reaction. We've been hearing from the NPA. They say that Ghana has enough fuel in our reserves to last us a couple of weeks. But from your industry data, how accurate is this assessment?
Right. Good evening and thanks for having me here. I think it depends on where we look at the impact of this war. I was able to listen to the previous speaker with the questions you were asking him. I think I'm happy with the focus he went in terms of the pricing because when it comes to availability of fuel, Ghana will not, or worst case scenario, may not be affected with availability of fuel, since we do not have or we don't have any fuel coming from that Gulf of or the Strait of Hormuz. Most of our products come from the western corridors of the oil and gas market, and the worst scenario of probably 10-20% coming from the Abu Dhabi and Kazakhstan, so will surely come from the southern hemisphere. However, why we are worried is not necessarily, like I said, the availability of fuel, but because of the international benchmark prices that are going to skype up. We are lucky to be operating with a bi-monthly kind of pricing and selling regime, i.e., we had the strike between Iran and Israel some time back last year, but we didn't have any impact here in the country within about 2 weeks because we had already priced that window, and that's the same thing we are seeing here. The window where we are in now, which is from 1st to 15th of March, has already been priced. And if this war persists, and with the rate at which the crude oil prices are going up, unless OPEC steps in and produce more, probably we're going to see fuel prices scaling up even above the $90 per barrel that has been forecasted. And automatically, that will also impact on the refined product prices.
And
Basically,
how soon
also
should we
because
expect this, especially with what you're telling us, especially with global crude prices rising? How soon will it be reflecting in our pumps?
Right, I think that's where I was going. So, if you look at how we've priced for this window, we expect to have a selling window for the next window from the 16th to the 31st of March. pretty soon. All right. So the effect of what we see jumping from 70 to 89 today will not be this week or even next week. All right, and that will be seen on the pumps in a couple of weeks to come. By then, we hope that the war might have been extinguished, and therefore the impact will not be so much hefty on our continent.
But
See, there's Dangote here in Nigeria, okay, who can supply Ghana easily, no doubt. But the issue of pricing, which takes care of the affordability in the 3 A's, that is the availability, accessibility, and then affordability. All right, but Dangote will not choose to sell cheaper to Ghana because we are neighbors. Because it's still going to sell at the price the world market will determine. So I think the focus here should not necessarily be availability of fuel, because probably like what MPA said, we have every Monday and Tuesday stock levels in all the tank farms. Okay. Even if all the tank farms in this country is full with fuel, all right, it cannot take us for 10 weeks. Look at the demand that we have today, all right. So we need to be discussing, in case the price go up, what should we do to make sure that the ordinary Ghanaian can still afford fuel?
But as oil marketing companies, are you already adjusting your pricing models, or will you hold steady for now?
Yeah, so we have already entered a new pricing regime, okay? We started from the 1st of March and ending on the 15th of March. That regime is meant to be stable till the 15th of March, unless, to be sure, crude oil price hit above $100 and the Platts prices also increase enormously. Other than that, believe me, we're going to have a stable price from now to the end of 15th of March.
And we're wondering, if this conflict persists, we have to be looking at alternatives. And it's interesting you make mention of Nigeria. Do we already have that established relationship with them, especially looking at what we're expecting in the coming days?
Oh yes, we have received crude oil products from Nigeria, and like I always say, the kind of traders we have in the western coast of the country are very solid enough to trade from everywhere. I'm talking about the likes of Victor, Trafigura, Blues. I mean, name them. Quite solid guys here, and we have already received diesel and petrol from Dangote refinery to the country. Remember, fortunately or unfortunately, we depend 80 to 90% all the time, as far as the oil and gas market is concerned, on the individual investors or corporate entities, not government. So these traders already have arrangement with Dangote refinery, just as they have with other refineries. It is very sad to see that 550,000 barrel per day capacity of crude oil refinery in Saudi Arabia has been shut down today. That is going to increase the demand and obviously affecting price.
I see. And then just looking at the situation we have in our hands, there are concerns that they may be panic buying by consumers as they anticipate the price increment. Do you know, as we speak, the percentage increment that we're likely to see in coming days?
So we can only predict based on today's data, okay? And I always advise politicians, advocates like myself to desist of causing panics around pricing, okay? Especially with crude oil and its products. We have had a regime or a window where crude oil price went up, but Platts prices came down, which is not the case. So it's also not always the case that crude oil prices go up and Platts prices also go up. And when we talk about Platts price, I mean the diesel and petrol prices, okay? It's always not compulsory like that. We've seen it. And if you go to our website, COMAC website, download all our by weekly reports, you see it there that crude oil price went up, but diesel came down. Even though, in actual sense, it should move in the same direction. That's how it should be, but it's not always the case. All right. So, in today's terms, where we've seen that crude oil has increased by Brent of 10% and 9% of WTI, if you look at the SREF component of our S pump, which is 70%, if you assume that component will increase by 7%, that means that the overall percentage of increase that we are looking at 100% wholesome should be 5%, no more. All right, that is as of today's information. You can only predict when you have data, and until you have data, please let's not move. And again, like I said, the windows we have here entreat us to sell at the price the window has set.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So I believe that fuel price will not jump up, or anybody will prevent selling to wait for the next window where prices will go up. We are selling. I mean, go to all the stations; they are all selling, and everybody's happy.
Okay, let me bring in Benjamin Wachi, he's Executive Director for Africa Center for Energy Policy. We appreciate your time here on Top Story. But just looking at this conflict, should it even stay longer than we envisage as a country, how will this impact our economy?
Thanks for having me. I think definitely the impact will be great if it persists, because already we're seeing almost 8% jump on the international oil price. And if the conflict escalates, then of course you could expect that the prices will go higher. And as they go higher, the industry will pass through, as you heard from Comac, because for them, they will want to recover their costs unless there's some intervention from government on the taxes component. And even that has a limit to what the government can do when prices escalate beyond a certain margin. Yeah, so we can only hope that it doesn't escalate and we can see some resolution to the conflict, and will ease the pressure on the market and allow the consumers to enjoy the rates that they're enjoying currently. But if it escalates, certainly we could see prices go up.
What early signs should we be monitoring to see over the next few weeks?
It's actually in the hands of the U.S., Israel, and Iran. They are the ones who are fighting. We don't even know what the strategy is for this conflict. So it's difficult for anybody to actually predict how things are going to pan out. I mean, all of us thought that there were negotiations, people were around the table discussing, a peaceful resolution to this situation. All of a sudden, we had bombs flying, people dying. So it's difficult for me to sit in Accra and predict what could happen. But we can only hope that it doesn't escalate beyond, a certain level that put pressure on the global economy, including Ghana.
And there are already concerns that we should start looking at our counterparts in Nigeria for supply. We hope to mitigate the impact on fuel prices at the pumps. Your thoughts?
If you are looking at Nigeria, it is only supply security dimension that you will be looking at. You are not looking at cost dimension, because it's a global market, and the market is fairly determined on a daily basis. So you're not going to get Nigeria selling their products to you at a cheaper price below what the global market is dictating. In fact, Ghana that produces oil is not going to sell its oil cheaper than what the global market is actually throwing at all of us. So you can have those arrangements to make sure that we can secure supply, but you cannot freeze the cost of the product to a greater extent. At this point, even if you want to trade forward, I mean, all those who are engaged in the market will also be anticipating a higher premium for it. So it's difficult for you to even smoothen the curve for a longer period of time. So we just have to brace ourselves and make sure that, and hope actually, that the war doesn't escalate in a manner that throws oil price back to the $100 regime.
Well, in the long term, people are actually proposing that we should invest in domestic refining capacity here in Ghana, especially with just weeks back we heard from government that our oil refinery is back on track. Your thoughts on how we can sustain the gains?
I think all of those dynamics impacts the supply security, but as I indicated, one is the price is determined on the international market. You're not going to trade below that unless you produce in excess that the country can then throw in some subsidy to make product cheaper. But as far as the market goes in Ghana, whatever the international price throws at us, it is good to refine so that at least if you can have ships coming in and you have crude oil in tank, you can refine it. But it's not going to do much, to your price beyond what the international market will be dictating to us. And those dynamics are important for people to understand. You can refine all you want, but the price of oil is determined on the international market.
Thank you so much, Benjamin Boachi. He's Executive Director for Africa Center for Energy Policy. Let me wrap up with Dr. Riverson. Within the next few weeks, realistically, what should we expect?
Yeah, I'm so glad that Ben reported the fact that Nigeria stocks will be for supply security, just like I also said. But in terms of pricing, we all go to adhere to the international benchmark prices, and that is what we need to be discussing going forward. Ghana does not sit on the supply risk zone, as I said. If this war was supposed to be in Europe or UK, then we have supply security issues, because that's where majority of our product coming from. So what we should be looking at is to keep on monitoring the international benchmark prices to see the extent at which our pump price might hit.
Okay.
But let me also mention again that please do not panic. Let's keep our fingers crossed that this window will be stable for all of us, and by next week we should see the expected outcome of this war in the pricing window. And I'm saying that for sure, if the fuel price should go up to a certain limit, we should sit down with the government and see which of the taxes or levies that they could also subsidize for the consumer to benefit from.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Riverson Oponge, CEO of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies. And that's how we wrap up Top Story. Up next is Newsnight.
Hello, good evening and welcome to Newsnight. This bulletin is live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, and over 30 affiliates across the country. Coming up tonight, government assures the safety and welfare of Ghanaians remains topmost priority in the wake of dozens of travelers stranded in the Gulf states.
Will give us update. As I mentioned earlier, this morning Emirates was at our hotel to take our details and everything. We asked them when we'll be flying, and the lady said she has no idea.
We'll bring you the latest on the Black Queen situation in the United Arab Emirates and hear views of some Ghanaians about the situation.
It's a cause of worry, because whatever affects other countries eventually tends to affect us.
Africa, we are in trouble. Yes, I'm worried. I'm worried because anything happening somewhere, even though it's not closer to you, you have to be worried.
Also ahead tonight, fierce political showdown hours away in Ayawasu East constituency, with all camps projecting victory with less than 24 hours before polls open as the Electoral Commission and the police confirm full readiness for the by-election. Also ahead this evening, a global study revealing the presence of lead and other inbreeding hair sparks mixed reactions in Ghana. Tonight, we hear from a cross-section of Ghanaian women who use their extensions.
Well, I haven't heard of the research, but I think it's very concerned.
For me, I think if they're saying it's going to affect our health, then they should bring an alternative. I'm still worried. It adds to our beauty.
In business,
fuel prices projected to witness some significant increase from March 16 due to current developments in the Middle East.
In sports,
Ghana Education Service assures crackdown on school sports violence as concerns grow over rising cases.
We got the latest of these and many other stories coming up in the next 60 minutes. You can be a part of the show by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 1111 997. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Ofori.
Details shortly.
Moms always say too much of everything is bad, but there's one too much mom actually approves of. Telecom's too much broadband bundle. This season, all you have to do is buy the 150 Ghana cedis too much broadband bundle in addition to your main broadband plan and get 150% bonus data. That's right.
Simply buy the 150 Ghana cedis Telecel too much bundle in addition to your main broadband plan and receive 150% bonus data. Dial *900# use the Telecel Play app or visit the Telecel website to buy now.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining in my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. Me I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me dana mada with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Dana kron kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Thank you very much for staying with us this evening. Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa has assured Ghanaians that their safety is the government's top priority, but evacuation plans remain unknown. Several Ghanaians, including Black Queens players and blogger Zion Felix, are stranded in the United Arab Emirates after airspace shutdowns and flight cancellations due to escalating U.S.-Israel-Iran tensions. Airlines like Emirates and Etihad Airways have suspended operations, leaving thousands stranded, while government has activated an emergency preparedness plan and began evacuating some embassy staff in Tehran while retaining essential personnel to assist citizens in Iran. While Ghanaians in affected areas are advised to stay indoors, avoid large gatherings, and follow local authority guidelines. First, head of Joy Sports Fentuo Tahiru Fentuo paints a picture of the Black Queens situation.
That a lot of them are very scared, with their bags packed and ready to move at any instruction. That's exactly what authorities have told them to do, and that's what the players have done. There's not been word from the Foreign Ministry, apart from the statement from yesterday, where they said that they were still assessing the situation with regard to evacuation of Ghanaian citizens in those affected countries. But what I know is that they had a training session this morning. That did not happen as they remained in their hotels. I also spoke to them about whether they have enough supplies, and they told me that the hotels are taking care of everything.
That's Fentuo Tahiru Fentuo there. We can now also hear from some Ghanaians living in Israel who have been narrating their experiences.
People are scared to sleep. Almost 11, almost 12 a.m. and everyone is scared to sleep. Jesus. Please help Qatar us. Oh.
A popular blogger, Zion Felix, is also stranded in Dubai. He plans to fly to London, or his plan to fly to London got disrupted by this development.
Only around 12:04 midnight, I had alarm, twice on my phone. And when I woke up in the morning, I was informed that there were some missiles in the air, and that is why we had those alarms. And then, it comes with a notification, and it's written in Arabic, and then they translate it into English that you should find shelter elsewhere. Go to places that there's no window and all that. But this dawn, I've not had anything on my phone. After that alert, I've not had any other alert on my phone again.
You've mentioned that Emirates has been very good to you. Does that mean that they are taking the cost of the accommodation and you're feeding as you are in UAE right now, or you are doing it yourself?
Right now, Emirates is taking care of the accommodation. Since Saturday evening to date, they've been taking care of the accommodation. And then the accommodation comes with breakfast. I don't know for how long they are going to do that, but they've not said anything like you have to leave here today or tomorrow. When they came today, they said in case of any other information about our traveling, they will inform us. So I believe we'll stay there till whenever we are supposed to leave.
We've heard that some people have been injured in the UAE. Have you heard that any of them is a Ghanaian?
Not for now. I've not heard that any Ghanaian is injured as of now.
So right now, do you have any information as to when the airspace in the UAE will be opened so that you can leave that country?
That is the problem right now. I keep checking updates on Emirates website, and then they keep postponing it. As of yesterday, they said today, 3 p.m., they'll give us update. I checked today, they said tomorrow, 3 p.m., they'll give us update. As I mentioned earlier, this morning, Emirates was at our hotel to take our details and everything. We asked them when we'll be flying, and the lady said she has no idea.
We want to hear from you as well, whether you are stranded in any of the Middle Eastern countries or whether you have a relative currently caught in the crossfire in the Middle East. The number to send us the message is 055 11 11 997, and the escalating conflict between the United States, Israel and Iran is triggering concern here in Ghana, with fears the fallout could extend far beyond the Middle East or beyond projections of possible fuel price hikes. Many Ghanaians say they are worried about the broader economic and security implications of a prolonged conflict. My colleague Michelle Latte has been speaking to some of them.
It's a cause of worry, because whatever affects other countries eventually tends to affect us. And I think this is one of the countries that is a major producer of oil, and so, or let's say petroleum products. And so something like that wouldn't help us as Ghanaians. And so we are anticipating that the cost of living will be very high if this thing should continue, because everything fuel is everything commodity, is everything our lives. So I don't think it's the best.
I really don't have any, this war has been silent for a long time, so there's no surprise that now it has erupted. But certainly it will have an impact on not just our country, Africa as a continent, and already I know oil prices have shot up because of this war. It depends on how long it continues. The more it continues, the more hardships it will be for not just Africa, even in Europe. We pray that it will end quick so that the world comes back to normalcy, because certainly world trade will be affected, because oil is the driver of all the economies of the world. So for me, I hope and pray that it will end soon so that we can have a peace of mind. Yeah, certainly, and I think that Donald Trump, he likes war too much. He should tone down. More negotiations and sitting at the table and talking, it will be more effective than showing how strong you are and want to show brute force.
Talk of in Ghana, it can be huge, because anything that is having effect around the whole world, and looking at Africa, ours should be more, because Africa, we mostly depends on the outside world, and if there is a challenge somewhere which is having effect everywhere, I think Africa, we are in trouble. Yes, I'm worried. I'm worried because anything happening somewhere, even though it's not closer to you. You have to be worried.
Those are some Ghanaians sharing your thoughts with my colleague Michelle Latte, who thankfully joins me in the studio for a roundup of reactions pouring in on social media. Michelle, what are Ghanaians on the internet also saying?
Okay, so for some, just reacting to some assurances that came from NPA saying that we have some fuel in our reserves to last us for some weeks. Someone on X says, his name is Kofi Apia Dankwa, he says, good point. I hope that time should be enough for us to explore other alternative routes for importation. By the way, why has BOST not expanded our strategic reserves capacity all this while? Another one says that that's a good start, but at the moment we need to seek for stability and no involvement in an unprovoked attack. Stay in your zones and watch. And besides, the past government also faced the same effect in the Ukraine war. So if you think this will have an effect, then kindly apologize to the past government. Some also coming in, you know how they will blame the past NPP government, just as we're talking so much about Ukraine-Russian war having effects on our country. Someone says here, we are lucky we haven't changed governments. Like by now, they are cutting Iran war special levy cake. And someone also says, yes, we don't expect petroleum shortages in Ghana. It must not happen unless President Mahama wants to be impeached, as he has the duty of protecting the petroleum consumer, just like President Akufo-Addo ensured fuel never short in the country. So those are some comments that are coming in on X.
Michelle Latte, thank you very much. Let's go into the telephone lines right now and speak to Cletus Seidu Dapila. He's the Vice Chairman on the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament. Grateful for your time this evening. Do I have Cletus on the line? Unfortunately, we've lost Cletus Dapila Seidu on the line. He's the Vice Chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament. We're working the phone lines to try and get him back on the line. And our top story for this hour is about the Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa assuring Ghanaians that their safety is government's top priority, but evacuation plans, as we all know, is remaining unknown as we speak right now. Several Ghanaians, including the Black Queens players and also a popular blogger Zion Felix, among others, are stranded in the UAE and other countries in the Middle East after airspace shutdowns and flight cancellations due to escalating US, Iran, Israel tensions. Airlines like Emirates and Etihad Airways have suspended operations, leaving thousands stranded. And of course, as we all know by now, government has activated an emergency preparedness plan and began evacuating some embassy staff in Tehran all the way in Iran, while retaining essential personnel to assist citizens in Iran. And Ghanaians in affected areas have been advised to stay indoors, avoid large gatherings, and follow local authority directives. And we've been hearing from some Ghanaians, which you heard a while ago, expressing their opinion about the current conflict that is ongoing in the Middle East. And we're trying to work the phone lines to hear from Parliament as well. Pel?
Well, Kenneth, we know that the by-election in Ayawasu East is tomorrow. And there's an update on that because voters in that constituency say they want jobs, better roads and visible development as candidates make their final push. In a by-election, all aspirants insist they can win. With less than 48 hours to polls opening, the contest has intensified, even as fresh polling from Global Info Analytics tips the NDC as favourite heading into the election day. The NDC's Baba Jamal faces Baba Ali Yusuf of the New Patriotic Party, Ibrahim Idrisu of the Liberal Party of Ghana, and two independent candidates. While Director of Elections and IT for the NDC, Rashid Tanko Computer, speaking on the polls on the Joy News channel, says the race is a clear victory for the NDC.
And if you put it all together, I'm not surprised with the 75% at all. I'm not surprised. Clearly, we're even expecting more because of what we have done in the constituency. We've campaigned vigorously. The people are telling us they are living testimonies of the good works of the NDC government, and then therefore they are going to return a good verdict for the NDC. In fact, that's what they are telling us in the constituency. Right. Wherever you go, we present our message to them. They receive it, with open arms, and they are telling us, NDC, you have no problem. You are a party that we can trust. We will vote for you tomorrow. I mean, this one is very clear. So I'm not surprised with the outcome of Global Info Adality. The party is leading the campaign for this election, and the party is leading the charge for tomorrow. So if the party is against that matter, you don't expect that issue to happen tomorrow at all. It won't happen.
My colleague Stephen Mensah has been following this story, and of course he'll be there tomorrow to give us live coverage. So Stephen, you've been to the constituency several times and you've been speaking to some of the residents on the expectations from the next member of parliament. Tell us more.
Yes, so for many of the residents we spoke to, they are asking for better infrastructure for the area, given that the area is quite strategic, it's close to the presidency, it's close to the central business districts also. They are asking that the market be expanded for all people who need to purchase things and for people who be engaging in businesses to be able to purchase or engage in their trade. They're asking also for an improvement in their sanitation and better drainage for the area and the constituency also. For many of these people also, one of their main concerns will be skills training for the youth. They say that the youth are unemployed and uneducated, so they will need them to be educated more to reduce the social vices in the constituency also. One of the other things they will be looking out for from the next member of parliament to be an improvement in the development of an overall development of the area. One person I spoke to, which is quite interesting to me, is that he tells me that he would want the area to look or being apart to the East Lagos and the cantonment area also. We can listen to them.
Let's listen to them.
They are engulfed in fields all around us. So I would like the elected MP to tackle that one first. Second has to do with the indiscipline among the youth. If they have something doing, obviously, they will go to work, and this kind of indiscipline, taggery thing will stop. Okay, that's my main major issue. The rest can follow.
We must also look at equipping youth with skills. And there are people who already have what they do. They have a trade. As I said, we are standing in the market. If this market is transformed to become an ultra-modern market, it becomes beneficial not only for us, but for the entire constituency and even the country at large, because people come from outside Ghana to trade within this Nima market weekly. And so that's one thing. Then there's a sanitation aspect, and there is an infrastructural gap. That when we say we want to bridge the gap between Nima and the surrounding communities, infrastructure is one. The road, for instance, we are along the Nima highway. If you are a motorist, you would attest to the fact that plying this route is not something enjoyable.
What I want from my member of parliament is unemployment among the youth. There's a lot of unemployment among the youth. So I plead with him to look at that sector, because most of the people around here, if you look at the environment, some of them are good in mechanic, plumber, and other tailoring within the, but because they lack certification, they cannot go far and work. So it creates more of that unemployment. So I also urge him to work on educational aspects, creating TVET centers within the sectors.
So we have some of the constituents you spoke to, Stephen. So the police has also released a statement with regards to security arrangement for tomorrow's exercise. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. In the statement, the police says that it has deployed adequate police personnel across all designated polling stations and key locations to ensure a peaceful, transparent, and orderly electoral process. The statement also says that it will maintain a visible presence and conduct patrols before, during, and after the election to prevent any act that may disrupt public peace and security. The statement also concludes by saying it's cautioning the public against engaging in any acts of violence, intimidation, spreading misinformation, or any conduct that may undermine the integrity of the electoral process. Persons found to have violated the law will be dealt with in accordance with Ghanaian law.
Stephen Mensah, thank you so much for that update.
You're still listening to News 9 here on Joy 99.7 FM. We've also been hearing from the Electoral Commission of Ghana, which says it is fully ready for tomorrow's polls. Fred Tete is Director of Research at the EC.
has been a series of engagement from the time those 60 days period for those by-election was kickstart by the Electoral Commission. We've engaged the police service at the top hierarchy to the regional and district level. In addition, we've met at the IPAC level together with the police as well, at the RIPAC and then the DIPAC level to engage them as to preparation. An interesting thing about Ayawasu East is that although Nima, Mamubi, Kanda, Kautulu, up to Kaukudi area has some kind of description. These are places, or this is a place where you don't record many flashpoints. And interestingly, people living in that area, though I would say how people perceive the place, interestingly, the place has been peaceful in our elections throughout. And therefore, tomorrow, we anticipate things will not be anything different from.
Let's bring you other stories. And rescue efforts have been called off after 9 people were confirmed dead following a mining pit collapse at Ataniata in the Asutifi South district of the Ehafu region. At least 4 survivors are receiving treatment at a nearby hospital. Footage from the scene shows traces of blood at the site of the collapse. My colleague Erastus Asaridonko joins us with the latest update. Erastus, thank you for joining us here on Newsnight. So, first of all, tell us what led to this collapse and if this is a recurring problem in the area.
Well, so this is a fresh land. It used to be a farmland belonging to one farmer, and I understand from this individual that they initially, when they wanted to buy the land and do illegal mining on it, he resisted. But later he started receiving threats that if he does not give the land away, they were threatening his life, and so he had to give the land away. Now they started digging haphazardly. In fact, more people came in. It wasn't a well-structured kind of mining they were doing there, and so they were not supporting the pits as they were digging. And so gradually, as they removed the rocks beneath the earth became loose and it collapsed on them. So far, in the first stage when it happened, they thought that there were many people trapped beneath the pit. And so they went in for an excavator. After they retrieved the bodies of 9 people, they started digging with the excavator with the hope of finding more people, but they couldn't. And that's how they gave up rescue efforts. Remember, this is the same area, the same district that NIMOS went in to stop a cyanide leaching joint that the people attacked the personnel of NIMOS, if you remember. This is the same area. And the Asutifi South, Asutifi North has issues of cyanide leaching joints, locally called Sankofa, scattered all over. So illegal mining is not what is known. They are known for cyanide leaching joints. But this is an isolated incident where they started mining and digging up pits, which has finally collapsed on them.
Before we get to how the survivors are faring, tell us about what the district authorities, the Minerals Commission or security agencies have started in investigations so far, and also what the reaction of the community has been to this incident.
There's been mourning since the deaths occurred. The place has since been abandoned, but I'm learning from some of the miners and from some independent individuals within the society that it's likely that when everything dies down, they're going to go back to digging from the same area. And the point is that they have found quite a sizable amount of gold on that land, and they will not let it go. And some people have the belief that once people have died in that area, the gold will surface more in that particular enclave. So it's likely that if authorities do not cordon off the place, they will go back to the place to mine.
And earlier, you made us understand that 4 survivors are receiving treatment at a nearby facility. What's their condition now? Have they been discharged?
Well, I've been told that they are responding to treatment. I don't have any update as to whether any of them have been discharged, but I was told that one was very, very stable and that it's likely that they will be discharged today. We also understand that the police were at the scene the whole of yesterday, but we do not know whether they will be calling of the place or where investigations have raised to be able to put a figure to it.
Erasto Sasaridonko, it's always a pleasure to speak to you. Let's stay with the story because the spokesperson for the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, Pakwesi Shando, says plans are underway to deploy a permanent task force to the area to prevent further illegal mining activities.
There is a comprehensive plan to invade that particular jurisdiction again. This time around, the plan and purpose of NIMOS for that particular area is a permanent full-scale deployment, which actually ties into already designed program of full-scale NIMOS deployment, because what we have observed over the period is that anytime NIMOS goes into an area to execute an operation, after they have left, the illegal miners obstinately would return. And under normal circumstances, one may expect that, well, the local enforcement units are supposed to be the vanguards, but it appears that is not happening, not to cast any blame, but we are not seeing that kind of local protection, or if like local enforcement. And so what NIMOS is going to do, effective the end of the first quarter, is a full-scale 24/7 uninterrupted deployment to that particular enclave and indeed to all other flashpoints. We believe that when that is done, incidents of this nature will become a thing of the past.
Let's take you to the presidency now, where President Mahama has voiced concerns about the erosion of judicial independence globally, citing increased executive interference in the judiciary. Speaking now the 2026 judicial year opening and the African Court on Human and People's Rights 20th anniversary in Tanzania, he warned that institutions fundamental to democracy are declining. He has also been highlighting instructions on civil liberties, including freedom of speech and protest, which he says undermine public trust in governance.
Technological advances have made the world feel like a small place. At no other time in our lifetime was that more evident than during the COVID-19 pandemic. By the time the World Health Organization announced the discovery of a new virus in Wuhan, China, that virus was already on an aeroplane to Johannesburg. It was already present in Accra on the roadside as individuals waited for a trotro at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, or seated towards the rear of a daladala en route to Ngaramtoni. If you look beyond Africa, what you find is that facade of the so-called Global North, a group of countries that have long held themselves up as beacons of democracy and human rights, of liberty, justice, and the rule of law, is fast crumbling. Judiciaries are no longer independent. Citizens and lawful residents are being disappeared by mass law enforcement and then placed without due process indefinitely in detention centers. We see executive overreach and a steady weakening of legislative independence. We see violations of international law. Restrictions are being placed on freedom of speech, assembly, and protest. There's a general loss of liberties and a sharp decline in public trust in government. Mwalimu Julius K. Nyerere famously said, "One does not judge one's state of health by comparing yourself to a sick person." For far too long, we compared ourselves to the West and used what we believe were their standards as our benchmarks for all our endeavors. The reality we see today should serve as a clear call to action.
Well, that's President John Mahama there, all the way in Tanzania. And in our first episode of Joy News Ghana Man series, we bring you the story of Jamestown, a historic Ga community that played a significant role in Ghana's fight for independence. Colonial administration once operated from James Fort. making the area a center of control but also a symbol of resistance among the local people. Ramat Bashiru has the rest of the story.
Ghana, we now have freedom. Ghana, land of freedom. Toils of the brave and the sweat of their labors. Toils of the brave which have brought.
From the struggle against British colonial rule to present day, Jamestown has been a hotbed of political activity.
At long last, the battle has ended, and thus Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever.
Some of the leading voices in the independence movement later became known as the Big Six. The nationalists who played key roles in challenging colonial rule included two prominent Ghana leaders, Emmanuel Obichibilamte and Ebenezer Akweje. Benjamin Nikwate Owu, an elderly resident, recount how the town got its name and how Ebenezer Akweje mobilized the Ghana people and residents of Jamestown to support the independence movement.
That we should support Kwame Nkrumah and Ghanaians. Those times they was called a Big Six, but when we come to have our independence, we all fight for him, we support him to claim Gold Coast to Ghana. When they are about to fight with the independent, Akwaje, he said he have a friend, one of his friends is called Kwame Nkrumah. So the five of them be together and send off to find Kwame Nkrumah.
At the Jamestown Tourism Information Center, historian Amfri Lamte describes British rule as a time of hardship for many Ghanaians. He explains that the story of Jamestown dates back to the construction of the James Fort in 1643. Jamestown formed part of Accra Central, the constituency Dr. Kwame Nkrumah represented after winning the 1951 elections while detained at James Fort.
A lot of people die. It's very painful history, very sad. By that time, they don't see us as human beings. They see us like animals because we have gents, those who are very strong men and strong women. Something like the fort. This James Fort prison was built by the British, 1643, for slavery activities. And when slavery was abolished, the Ghana government turned this place as a prison. 1960 up to 2007, the prison is closed. So that's where Kwame Nkrumah was put. The first president of Ghana was put inside over there for a year, then 57.
And all who fought for freedom. Everybody! All from the brave and the sweat of their labor.
As Ghana marks 69 years of independence, Jamestown's story keeps the nation's history alive. But after all its contributions, residents are still asking how much the community itself has changed. Ramat Bashiru's report, read to you for Joy News.
It's now time for business, and George Riafe is here with the latest. George, what do you have for us?
Well, Kenneth, coming up in business, fuel prices projected to witness some significant increase from March 16 due to the current developments in the Middle East. And Deputy Minister of Finance Thomas Nyakwampem hints of plans by government to start issuing long-dated bonds after the expiration of restrictions on these papers issuance following the domestic debt exchange program reliefs as well. We're getting you more details on that one. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials, Synthesis tanks, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal.
Can you hear it? The freedom in our songs, the sound of liberty that rings from Kaswa to Karaga, from Tamale to Takoradi. It's in the pestles that pound from coast to coast. It's in the busy offices, the crowded streets, and the noisy schools. It's in the wisdom of our elders and in the laughter of our children. It's in seeing how far we've come and looking at how much we can grow.
It's in knowing that still, Ghana go be. Happy 69th Independence Day. MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Temania Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
Cast your mind back to 2022. The prices were rising. The stress was high. Every liter of fuel felt like a sacrifice. Do you remember who stepped forward first? When others were comfortable with high prices, Star Oil chose you. We cut our own profits so you could keep your AC on, keep your engines running, and keep your life moving without the heavy burden. We gave you room to breathe when things felt tight. Because of you, our star savers, we became number 1. Today, the pumps are a battleground. Others are finally cutting prices because they have to. But Star Oil, we do it because we want to. Don't just chase a price, remember a friendship. We were there for you then, and with new innovations coming your way, we are here for you now. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
If you want quality, this be where you belong. Hey, it's a very strong. Oh, gonna shout and sing the song. When the sun they hot, syntax no break. When the rain they fall, still no shake. Builders they choose and plumbers they prove. Any project you they start.
Are you ready to revolutionize the future of agriculture? The Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, in partnership with the Ghana Exim Bank, proudly presents the Ghana Agri-tech Fair 2026. The fair will feature exhibitions, market linkages, masterclasses, and workshops on climate-smart farming, digital tools, and export development. Join us at the Black Star Square from March 17 to March 19 at 9 a.m. each day. The President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, will be assisted by the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, the Honorable Elizabeth Ofosui-Jari, and the Chief Executive of the Ghana Exim Bank, Honorable Sylvester Adina Mensah, to open the fair. Government agencies, agro-tech firms, startups, farmers, financial institutions, and the general public are all welcome. To exhibit or for inquiries, call 0559 679326 or 0242 585419. Media partners: Daily Graphic, Media General, Radio Gold, City FM, Channel 1 TV, and the Multimedia Group. Ghana Agri-tech Fair 2026, transforming agribusiness through local innovation and technology.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, fuel prices are projected to witness some significant increase in 2 weeks' time, that is from March 16, 2026. It follows the huge spike in crude oil prices in just a day due to developments in the Middle East. Now, in Ghana, oil marketing companies have already gone up starting today by almost 3% per litre. This is due to what happened over the past 2 weeks. Now, what we are picking up is that if the current trend should sustain, we could be witnessing one of the most significant spike in crude prices, that is petroleum products, on the local market. Meanwhile, the National Petroleum Authority has indicated that its immediate priority is to ensure that we have enough products in the country in terms of stocks to meet consumer demand. This follows fresh revelations the current conflict in the Middle East could last for up to 5 weeks. Abbas Tasunti is head of economic regulations at the National Petroleum Authority.
We would like to assure consumers that the fact that this war is happening and going to tighten the market is not going to affect the quality of fuel you get. The NPA has a very robust system of ensuring that the fuel we buy is of the highest quality and is meeting the standard. And so this is in no way going to affect the quality of fuel we have. I would mention that we have, before the product first of all enters the market, we have a system that will ensure that it has met our standard. When the product enters our market, we also have a process that ensures that we monitor the product from the depot all the way to the retail outlet using our fuel marking program. And so consumers should not be concerned about the fact that this is going to lead to adulterated fuel. We are going to ensure as a regulator that the consumer gets value for money when it comes to the quality of fuel that they are purchasing. So remember that in Russia, in 2022, when the Russia attacked Ukraine, we had the same issue. The MP worked with the industry, the BDCs, to ensure that the products are always available. What we are likely to definitely face is the increase in the price. But for availability, rest assured that Ghana is not going to short fuel.
Abbas Tasunti is head of economic regulations at the National Petroleum Authority. Now, Deputy Minister of Finance Thomas Nyakwampem has revealed that government could soon look at the option of issuing long-dated domestic bonds in the coming weeks. Now, this was after restrictions on issuing these bonds expired last week, Thursday, as part of conditions under the domestic debt exchange program. Mr. Ampem tells Joy Business a lot of options are currently on the table being reviewed.
For the past 4 years, we were financing the budget on the short end with treasury bills. With the restrictions being ending, now we will be able to issue long-dated bonds. Very soon, very soon. All we were waiting for was the expiration of this. That is very soon. You hear announcement about that. You hear the announcement very soon, because you see we have pension funds idle, so now they will have use to invest. They will have avenues to invest. So these are all wonderful things that are happening, and I tell you
about the gold reserve being depending on the gold for the reserves. Isn't that, some would say, a big gamble? Because gold could be rising today, tomorrow it could go down. If things in America should sustain a little bit, people will move away from gold assets to dollar asset-backed assets. That is where the challenge is about the challenge in depending on gold so much for your reserves going forward.
You see, if you read the full document on the accelerated reserve accumulation policy that the minister brought to the House, currently it is gold-led, because gold prices are elevated, they are high. But there are other components. We are not only dependent on reserves going forward, but you make hay while the sun shines. Since all international...
Deputy Minister of Finance Thomas Nyakwampem. Now, some businesses have indicated that they are somewhat convinced about the outlook of the economy as well as sustainability of the current economic gains. And this follows President John Mahama's latest commitment to fiscal discipline as expressed in last week's State of the Nation's address. Stephen Abbas Mezan is president of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
I think in the speech there are a lot of policies and pronouncements that has been made to ensure that we maintain the fiscal discipline. And You see, it is not even what we have achieved now, but it's also its sustainability. It's something that we also need to avert our mind to it in the long term. What are the policies that the government is putting down? So the president mentioned to global economic watchers, which is good. So it means that we need to put, as a country, we need to put in policies where issues like COVID, Ukraine war, electricity issues that President Mahama faced under his tenure, all those things are things that, look, we are insulated from going forward. So yes, the president mentioned that, and I appreciate the president for mentioning something like that. So global watchers is something that I picked up very much.
President of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Stephen Abbas Mason. Now, telecoms giant MTN has revealed that they paid 10.5 billion Ghana cedis in direct and indirect taxes to the state covering its operations for last year. This is coming after its service revenue shot up by more than 20% to reach 24.4 billion Ghana cedis for last year. The telecoms firm also saw some strong growth in all areas of its operations for last year. Active mobile money users now stands at 19 million as revenue from that business reached 6 billion Ghana cedis for last year. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
Thank you, George. It's now time for sports, and Benaya is here.
Yeah, Kenneth, we have some good news. And the Black Queens, they've actually resumed training to continue their Pink Ladies Cup ahead of, that's a form of preparations ahead of the WAFCON tournament.
Right.
What's been happening in the Middle East, and tensions have been high. People were scared. Hey, what's happening with our Black Queens? Hope our ladies are safe and all that. Now, authorities are saying that we should calm down. They are all safe and sound, and they've already resumed training, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Wishing them all the best. Now, let's go to the GS, because rising cases of violence and hooliganism in both the central region and eastern regions have compelled authorities to take decisive action. Now, the central region inter-school sports festivals have been temporarily banned, while in the eastern region, the Ghana Education Service sanctioned Kofridua Senior High Technical School, New Joabin Senior High School, and New Sutam Senior High Technical School following violent incidents linked to recent competitions. Now, Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Education Service, Daniel Fenyin, says measures are being put in place to curb hooliganism in school sports and restore discipline.
We want very thorough and exhaustive investigation, so we take permanent decision on that. But you can trust that all these pockets of cases that have come to the Ghana Education Service serve as data, and that will inform some permanent decisions going forward. I give an example. In the Eastern region, 3 schools have been banned for 2 years. Kofridua Sectech has been banned. New Joabin
Kofridua Sectech have been banned.
Yes, because of what happened. So we are using these cases as data. Of course, we step in to give sanctions. We step in to make sure the cases have been dealt with and order. But we're also using them as case studies to take decisions going forward. So we don't expect that in the next set of games that we'll witness in the country, we will see these cases recorded again.
Yeah, hopefully in the next competitions we don't see this case repeat itself again. And that's it for sports. Over to you, Kenneth.
Right, thank you. Don't go yet. Did you see the weekend Premier League games?
That's why you called me back. You want to remind me?
Especially the Sunday ones. No, it's not even that.
It's not even about Arsenal.
All the score lines were 2-1, 2-1, 2-1 in favor of the home teams. I don't know if you noticed that.
I also noticed it. And there were also red cards, a few red cards for the away sides.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace, Chelsea, Charlie. But the Arsenal people, why?
Oh, please.
Are we playing rugby?
Their end is near.
You saw the way they were holding our necks and
don't
worry.
Charlie, why? Don't worry, their end is near, okay?
Their end is near.
Yeah.
But they don't handle them or what?
No, their end is near. You see, Man City will show you.
Man City will do the job for us. Okay, all right. Let's see how it goes.
Thank you. And in Second D, Takradi's bustling Zongo communities, homes are becoming unbearable heat traps due to rising temperatures, poor housing design, and limited ventilation. This perfect storm is putting lives at risk, especially for vulnerable groups like children, the elderly, and pregnant women. The situation is dire, with residents struggling to cope with indoor heat that's often exacerbated by frequent power outages and high electricity costs. Prince Owusu has more in today's climate evidence.
Ghana's climate strategies recognize the dangers of global warming. In Sekondi Takoradi Zongo, cramped buildings and limited airflow are often compounding the crisis. Trader Balikisu Dauda explains that she keeps her children cool by wiping them down with wet towels, but says the elderly are often left to endure the heat with little relief.
The heat is harsh, causing rashes and making kids uncomfortable. We most of the times use wet towels to cool them down, trying to help them sleep. It's tougher for kids. They can't handle it.
Another resident, Idris Mohammed, says the heat drives them outdoors at night.
Even with the air conditioner, the heat is overwhelming, forcing us to rely on natural ventilation, like laying mats outside just to catch a breeze.
The Metropolitan Development Planning Officer and Climate Change Focal Point, Abu Mohammed, says the Assembly is taking steps to reduce the impact of extreme heat.
Particularly in the Zongos, you realize that the buildings are mostly joined together. So we need to have education and educate them to understand that there's a change, and that change is the reason why there's so much heat.
A recent study by Ebenezer Mankwa of the University of Ghana recommends stronger climate-responsive housing policies that focus on ventilation.
We have installed heat detection devices in rooms and hospitals. For setup, position windows to face each other and orient buildings to allow wind flow, reducing heat impact.
As temperatures continue to rise, the heat inside Zongo homes is no longer just uncomfortable, it's dangerous.
Well, despite growing international concern over harmful chemicals found in some synthetic hair extensions, many Ghanaian women say they are not ready to abandon the popular beauty product. The reactions follow a CNN report citing a U.S. study that detected potentially cancer-causing chemicals, including lead, in several brands of synthetic hair, along with substances linked to hormone disruption. But here in Accra, some women say the decision to stop using hair extensions is not straightforward.
I haven't heard of the research, but I think it's very concerning because hair extensions have become a part of our everyday life. So finding out that something that is so personal and so everyday has high chances of causing me cancer is, I don't know, it makes me feel a certain way. Going forward, I think that it will affect how I wear hair extensions or how I use them.
I've heard of it, and for me, I think if they're saying it's going to affect our health, then they should bring an alternative to it so that it doesn't affect us, our health. I'll still wear it.
The Coalition of Unpaid Newly Posted Staff of the Ghana Education Service is expressing frustration over months of unpaid salaries, missing staff identification numbers, and unexplained changes to their assumption of duty dates. The teachers say the delays have made it increasingly difficult to cope with the rising cost of living. The following report has more.
Newly posted teachers say some members have worked for months without staff IDs or salaries. They say some unexplained changes to assumption of duty dates are also affecting the arrears owed them. The group stormed the NAT office today to demand urgent action.
We have members who are still working without staff IDs, and a larger number of us who have also worked for 17 months without salary. Others who have gone 10 months, 12 months, 14 months with salaries in arrears. We were recruited in September and then November 2024 respectively. In fact, some of them have their assumption of duties changed to November 2025.
According to them, calls to NAT and other associations have gone unanswered.
Since the fight of this battle, we've been working all along by ourselves, and to our surprise, the very association or the very body whose core mission is to ensure the welfare of teachers, we think we have been neglected, we have been discarded, in fact, we are undervalued.
The teachers say nurses received a clear payment plan after their recent aggregation, but teachers have not.
There's a letter out. Ministry of Health has brought the letter out. Ministry of Finance, who is very aware that he owes teachers, has also brought a payment plan out for only nurses. Are we not part? Are we not providing critical services?
Some teachers described how the delays have affected them.
I have 3 children, so rent, school fees, light bill, water bill, and I've been working for 14 months.
People working without staff ID, without salary. I don't know whether they care. They don't care. That is what I'm seeing. They don't care.
It has been a problem and a headache. People do not sleep at night, and people have been owing a lot of people. Because of this, people have borrowed monies that they were not supposed to borrow.
We're heavily always calling people asking for mobile money, which is an insult to our very personality.
The frustrated teachers warned that if the issues are not addressed, they would hold a legal demonstration in the coming weeks.
Right, that's it for Newsline. But before we go, here are some of the messages you've been sending to our WhatsApp console. Jake Aye from Ajen Kotoku says the government should act fast to ensure the safety of Ghanaians living in and around the war zone. As for the fuel price increment, we may not have control over it. Nana Ekriamwa Boatin from Ablekuma Central says the voters in Ayawasu East should change their voting pattern. They voted for many years, but has not seen any development in their communities. They should vote for the MPP candidate. Francis in Accra says for MPP, their long-awaited prayer after the 2024 election for a world crisis to happen in Ghana so that it can affect Ghana's economy as COVID did. It has become their answered prayer. And this one is from Sherry Giovanni, who says, I don't expect to hear the government give excuse that the war in Iran is the cause of fuel price hikes. And Kotoka Carriage in Anlogala Shibi in the Volta region says, as a matter of fact, U.S. President Donald Trump talks too much and appears to be anti-Africa. Since returning to power for a second term, he has been making many threats. Just look at the current conflict happening in the Middle East. Those are some of the messages you've been sending to our WhatsApp platform. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Ofori.
Have a good evening.